Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Welcome here to Northern Colorado, where we perform our 70-mile-an-hour highway range test. And this time we are performing this test with the Mercedes EQS. This is the EQS 450 Plus, which is the big battery. We only get the big battery in the US, 107.8 kilowatt hour usable. And then, of course, this one's the rear-wheel drive, being the 450. The 580 is the same battery, but with all-wheel drive. I'll walk you through the testing procedures, and then, of course, we're going to head out and see what it does. So forgive some of the noise here at the station. It's just a noisy environment, of course, but this is a 2022 Mercedes EQS 450 Plus. The sticker price on this one is $122,000, spec'd the way it is. And that's actually not totally accurate because Mercedes has put on larger wheels than what this car was delivered with. New, this car came with 20-inch wheels. This one we have 21-inch wheels, and they're on Bridgestone Blizzak LM something or others. Which one? LM 05 somewhere. Not really totally sure. We gotta look. We gotta find it. Where does it say? Where does it say? Made in Poland, Bridgestone LM 005. There we go. Winter tires. So it's on snows, and that'll be interesting to see how this car does on snow tires, of course. What I've done for our testing procedures is I actually plugged the car in earlier this morning in about 25% state of charge at an Electrify America DC fast charging station, charged it up to about 85%, and then drove it, 15 miles up here to finish off the charging. Now, the reason I did that was the Electrify America stations can deliver max power. I wanted to warm the battery up, and today's conditions are almost perfect. It's gonna be in the 60-degree temperature range. Very, very little wind. It just is starting to pick up, but very little wind today, which is wonderful. And of course, we're right off the highway. So this is where I love to do my EV range tests. We're gonna be going from here in Northern Colorado up to Cheyenne, Wyoming, east into Nebraska, and then back, a full loop style test. Right now we're charging on a ChargePoint CPE 250 charger. We're pulling about 34 kilowatts. We're at 95% state of charge. The car's nice and warm. I'm gonna walk you through some of the drive modes inside. And then, of course, if you want any more detail, this whole thing is being live streamed. It would have already, of course, been over by the time this video goes up, but we have some hot dogs for snacks. You can see our Out of Spec Motoring live stream audience right here taking a look at our charging curves. So again, you can see here on the hyper screen, 95% is doing 34-ish kilowatts. So let's talk about setting the car up. We have to reset the trip counter. I have the back door cracked here just so the charging screen stays up for these guys. What an incredible car it is. And of course, we'll have a charging test, other tests coming on this channel. Plenty to do with EQS, but we got to see how far it goes on a charge first. So that's what we're doing. Inside the EQS, oh, these lovely, lovely pillows are absolutely wonderful. This car does have heated, cooled, and massage seats. As per our testing standards, we're not going to use any of that. We do keep climate control running. So it's currently 61 degrees Fahrenheit outside. The sun's not really out. And I'm going to leave the roof shades open because it's nice, but I can close them if the sun gets a little bit too aggressive. There's a couple different climate control programs in this car. So we always run automatic climate control, at least in cars where it's available. But this one has a comfort climate control, an eco climate control, and an eco plus. And we're going to run comfort. Actually, that's not true. Excuse me. We're not going to run comfort because that'll just keep the cabin wonderfully cool or whatever. Eco is like one step down where we should still get temperature control. It'll blow the air. It should be more than fine for a road trip. If it's not, we'll reevaluate, but I've played around with it. Seems to be pretty good. And then there's Eco Plus, which doesn't actually let you choose a temperature. It just filters in outside air. As per our testing standards, we don't do that. We always run the most efficient climate control we can where we still allow climate control. So what we're going to do, of course, is reset our trip computers before we go. We're going to put the car into eco mode. We're going to jump on the highway, set the speedometer at a GPS accurate 70 miles an hour, as we always do. Of course, I've set the tire pressures to manufacturer recommended when cold. And so I did that this morning at Discount Tire, went there before we stopped. So the tire pressures are good. It is on winter tires. I wish we didn't have it. It would have been a perfect test if we had the smaller 20-inch wheels and non-winter tires. But hey, well, it just means we'll have to do it again when we get the right spec. I have no idea what to expect from this car. Right now, at 96% state of charge, it's predicting 374 miles, and that's a guessometer. That's based off my driving, and I've been driving this thing pretty hard. So this is for sure, I think, going to be the longest range test I've ever done. My friend Todd Malogny recently tested the Lucid Air at 500 miles on the nose. I don't think we're going to see anything like that here in this car, but we're going to let it complete at 100%. We're going to pull out on the highway immediately, have all the climate control set and everything like that, and we'll be good to go. By the way, just a note on climate control, I always precondition the cabin while we're connected to the charger. So we're going to run 68 degrees, doors shut, windows up, get the cabin ready to go. So when we unplug, the car doesn't have to spend a big thermal load to get it to the desired temperature. Should be a blast. And you can see the charging has ended. It says, have a good trip, no worries. I've just turned climate control off right now because I don't want to have it use juice during the unplugging process. We'll get the doors shut. We're almost ready to go. By the way, this car only has 2,500 miles on it, so it's freshy fresh, which I'm pretty pleased with. I always love to get an early, low mileage car because the less mileage, the less degradation. In some cases, at least, in most cases. So we added 26 kilowatt hours here. We added almost 70 kilowatt hours at the previous one. Cost me about 10 bucks. Let's put the cap on here, close the charge port door. We got to get the live stream guys up at the right position, and we are almost ready to go. Oh yes. Let's do it. Let's reset everything. So we have the car in eco driving mode right now. We have the climate controlled 68 in eco setting, and we're just heading out. I don't know how this lady thinks she's going to charge her plug-in Prius, but it's not going to work. Sorry, I don't have time to explain that. We have to hit the road. So let's do this thing. We got a full 100% charge. Great charging curve here on EQS. It ripped up to 100% in no time at all. So let's do this thing. It's about half a mile, a little bit less to get onto the highway. And then I've already confirmed that 70 miles an hour indicated is a true 70 mile per hour GPS speed. We have some Smart Water, some Doritos, just backup snacks if we need it. And we're just going to be gently cruising up. A little bit of regen, but not too much. You can see the regen bar went to full here when we weren't fully getting that much juice, but that just makes sense because we're at 100% state of charge. Car's projecting 389 miles, but again, that has no relevance to this. This car is not set at 70 miles an hour. So gentle accelerations. What we do is on the on-ramp, we accelerate to hit 70 miles an hour by the end of the on-ramp. It's sort of our standard procedure. And I'll let you guys know how this goes along the way. I'll update you as we hit sort of targets throughout the drive. Nice platinum truck in front of us too. Those things are like 100 grand. Sweet truck. So the goal here is to hit 70 miles an hour by the end of the on-ramp. It's kind of what we always do. The thing with a range test is you don't really want to floor it, because the more power you give it, the more heat loss you'll have. I will say in eco mode, I'm hitting a wall at the end of the throttle and we're almost at 70 miles an hour, but I can't actually push it harder. If I do, it'll push past. The car will go 70. So let's set this on. Let's set the cruise at 70 miles an hour. We just did that. Come on, car, inch up a little bit. It has active steering. It will make lane changes on its own as well. You can see the heads-up display. And there we are, just sitting at 70 miles an hour. I'll show you the lane change functionality since no one's here, so you'll know what we'll be doing. Left turn signal on, and you can see the car is making a left turn. See those arrows up in the heads-up display? The colors don't actually change like that. It's just the way the camera picks it up. And then we'll go back to the right. It's so interesting. Love this technology. It is so cool. Anyway, it's going to be a very comfortable range test, very quiet range test here in the EQS. Definitely one of the most refined EV driving experiences I've ever had. And coming up, we're just about to cross into Wyoming right over here. So welcome to the middle of the country-ish. And yeah, we have a bit of an uphill climb to get to Cheyenne, and then it levels out. So we'll of course gain that back when we come back down. So yeah, efficiency's not looking so hot right now, but don't let that be the determining factor of this test yet. And you join us here in the middle of Nebraska, where it's 69 degrees Fahrenheit, almost 70 degrees, perfect weather. We do have a bit of a wind, crosswind going north out here, so that kind of sucks. a little bit, but look at our consumption, 309 watt-hour per mile. The car's predicting 293 miles to go. So that's going to put us very close to a 400-mile range. But again, we have a lot more driving to do to get this thing down. So let's continue on, but at 75% state of charge, we have driven 87.2 miles so far. You join us hours into the trip, 2 hours in right now, where we're going to be taking our exit loop. A little bit early, but you can see the temperature has just dropped from the mid-50s, honestly high 50s, very quickly down. So I think this storm might be coming in or something, but I'm kicking us off 70 miles an hour. We're taking this exit. We're going to go back to a little bit warmer weather and a little bit less wind, just because we can, and I'd rather have a little bit more of an accurate test. So let's bump off here, we'll hop in, we'll loop back, and again, we're at 59% state of charge, so we really didn't even turn around that early, but definitely looking forward to seeing what this thing will do. A little bit of regen here. We'll make sure we're not going to hit the huge amounts of cross traffic coming this way, and we'll just merge around. It's just absolutely empty over this way here. Again, 313 watt-hour per mile is insanely efficient, but we have lost a little bit of elevation since we started this trip up in Wellington, Colorado. And so let's head back. Let's see what we should do. In theory, our consumption should go up a little bit just due to the elevation change. And that's why we run a loop style test. So the entire test is a 0 elevation gain or loss. And here we go. Left turn, ripping it, rear steer, helping out quite a bit. And then just gentle accelerations till the end of the on-ramp when we hit 70 miles an hour. I'll update you what happens when we hit 50% state of charge, but I feel like it's going to be a while. This is a full day operation to range test this car. We have traveled 170 miles so far, and we are now at 50% state of charge. This will be by far the longest range EV I've ever tested. Perfect conditions. We had that dip down to colder temps, but now we're back up in that almost 60-degree range, so very happy there. Beautiful day, very little wind. Again, we have about a 3 to 5 mile an hour side wind. But that's just what happens in the real world. And side winds you can't really counteract, so that's always a little bit of a bummer. But the EQS is wonderful. Maybe about to break open into the Doritos here shortly. We'll see. But man, I'm just really enjoying this silent machine that is the EQS. A lot of the viewers on the live stream were asking if I was using my massaging seats or heated seats, and the answer is no. I wish, but I do love the pillows here. And yeah, just a very comfortable car, even without the use of the massage seats. But I would 100% use it every time when I'm not doing range testing. We are now at 25% state of charge. We have driven 242 miles. We've been at this 3.5 hours. We had to gain a little bit of elevation up here coming into Cheyenne, but we're going to lose it going back to Colorado. So that's to be expected. Temperatures are looking good. And yeah, well, let's finish this thing off. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the final number will be. I'd say well over 300 miles is what it's looking at right now. We are back at the starting point with 16% state of charge. We're going to do another loop, head up, turn around, and try and get here with as low state of charge as possible. We are on our final loop. We have just crossed 300 miles driven. What an amazing achievement. That's the longest I've ever been in an EV on one charge up to this point. We're going to go up. We have 31 miles to make it back to our charger and 35 projected. And we now have our first warning. It says reserve level. I'm wondering what the reserve level is. 8% is when it warns us. Interesting. It's probably on 30 miles, and that could be user selectable as well, perhaps. But anyway, that's plenty. That's like more than a half charge on my smart car. So we're going to keep it going. We're going to take the next exit, loop around, and head back to Wellington. Well, we've done that loop and we still have 4% left. So I say, let's just do another one. We'll go up one exit and back. And I think we should be able to make it back here. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. So if I hit this little home button and we go over to the service menu, it will actually tell us our max power. And you can see it's down to under half. So we are starting to get into throttle limitation. So that was definitely our last loop. We have 2% state of charge. So we're going to pull off, you know, where we started, and then we'll take some back roads. But of course, I'll let you know the 70 mile per hour range, and then we'll try and keep it between 45 and 65 on back roads. until this thing runs out. So I think that'll be pretty sweet. So we have gone 335 miles so far. I'll let you know what this thing does at 70. And you can see the augmented reality heads-up display here indicating that our exit is arriving soon. We have currently traveled 337 miles. I'm gonna take it off of cruise control now, and then we are going to merge up off the highway here. The live stream audience has been great. We're live streaming on Out of Spec Motoring. Of course, you're watching this video on Out of Spec Reviews. And now let's go run this thing down all the way at sort of low speed, moderate roads. But 337 miles at 70 constants, pretty good. But let's see what the full range tests bring. We're down to 2%. We are cruising along the frontage roads as we normally do here, doing between 50 and 60 miles an hour. We're at 1% state of charge, 4 miles to go. You can see our power meter right here is just over 40% of available power. We're not even in turtle mode yet. This is amateur hour. Let's just keep it rolling. And now we have turtle mode on. 0% state of charge. But I think that kicks on when you hit 40% of available power left. Anyway, let's just scooch around this guy here. And yeah, 1 mile remaining. I would say we're roughly a mile away from the charger at this point. So let's just U-turn right here, shall we? So we'll go over this way. We will then just use this amazing rear steering to just crank U-turns in the middle of the road, which is the coolest thing about this car. And yeah, let's head back. We have, again, about 40% power reduction, well, 60% reduction to about 40% available. We got a cute little turtle on the display. Save the turtles. And we got to save this turtle. So we'll get it over to the charger here. And I'm impressed with the range, really impressed. And you can see turtle mode's on. We have 0%, 0 miles. Big power cut. Maybe, like I mentioned, maybe we could do another mile out of it. I don't really think so, though. That throttle was pretty squishy. Anyway, it's pretty much completely out. I can't actually see how far we've gone because this turtle mode's in the way. So let's try and turn off the car. 344.3 miles on one charge. There's the live stream. Thumbs up to everyone over there for checking it out. And yeah, let's go plug this thing in. And you join me over at the CPE 250 charge point unit that we always tend to do our range tests at here in Colorado. CCS port in, and wow, I'm just so impressed with the range. Again, on snow tires, on the big wheels, it did really well. Super, super impressive. And let's go take a look at the charging speeds, and then that'll be that. Should be pretty sweet. Nice, ramping up. And we're juicing up just fine, ramping up. These CPE 250s on a 400 volt car can't really do more than 90-ish kilowatts. Maybe we see 100, perhaps, probably not, but it's doing 72 right now, maxed out. Gotta say, pretty impressive performance from the EQS. There's your range number. Let's look at the rest of the stats. There you go, the full thing.